Happy Halloween, everyone. Or at least I hope this video is up by Halloween, because I'm literally recording and editing this the day before. Yeah, it's been a while since I've uploaded anything. I've been wanting to make videos on other stuff other than just Let's Plays. And since it's, October, I've been in the mood to watch, movies that kind of fit Halloween. Yeah, this video is partly inspired by Matt Drapers' video that he released a few weeks ago, but where he is recommending movies to watch, and I'm assuming he's already seen. I'm doing 31 movies that I have never seen, and ranking them on Letterboxd. And yeah, well, I have a couple of unspoken rules. I didn't really think of them until I kind of noticed the trend that I was doing. So basically, one movie per franchise. If let's say I was watching Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time, I could only pick one out of all the sequels. A lot of horror movies get remade here and there, so yeah, in that case I would either have to pick the original or the remake. Still, that falls into the one per franchise, and they have to be movies that I've never seen. I think that would have made it a bit more interesting, and it definitely did. I saw movies I've heard of before, and well, I'm kind of glad I got it over with and saw them now, because some of these are pretty good. I do gotta say, not all of them were, mind-blowing or amazing. A lot of these are 3.5 stars out of 5. But for the most part, all of these were pretty fun to watch. So I'm gonna, give a little synopsis, my thoughts on it, and then the score. And I'm gonna try and minimize spoilers, but there are gonna be a couple here and there, so keep that in mind. And also, this is my opinion. If you see a movie here that you thought I rated too high or too low, just remember that. Okay, the first one was It Follows. So it's real popular. It came out a few years ago, more than almost 10, I believe. It's about this demon that gets passed on. When you bump uglies with someone. It's basically a metaphor for an STD, even though I've heard people say it isn't. And it's really, really good. I really liked it. The most of the movie is just, Michael Monroe and her friends trying to avoid this thing and trying to find some way to stop it. Yeah, that was still really entertaining. The whole demon thing is slow, but you catch it in the background when the other characters don't, and it adds a lot of suspense to it. And there's a lot of moments where you think it's one character in the background that we've already met, but it's actually this whole thing. Really well done. The only thing I did not like was the ending. I feel like it kind of just ended, and I feel like that's the problem for a lot of these here. But for the most part, really enjoyed it. I gave that one 4 stars. Next movie I saw was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Kind of a cult classic. I can't believe I've never seen it before. It's about aliens that look like clowns. They attack a small town somewhere, and they start kidnapping people, wrapping them in cotton candy. I think they're making them into juice, if I remember right. There were a lot of funny moments in this one. It was really, really good. I had fun with it. It's a small budget movie, so you could tell immediately. And I think the biggest thing holding it back is that there's really no main characters. There's 3 of them, and I felt like they don't really have much of an arc. But jokes with the clowns and the kills, all of that was real fun. That was a fun movie. I gave that one 3.5. Then the third movie I saw is actually the most recent movie on this whole list. It's the newest iteration of Salem's Lot. It came out the day I saw it. So yeah, it's the newest one. It's based on a Stephen King book. There's actually a lot of movies here that are based on Stephen King books. Well, maybe not a lot. I'd say like 4. But it's about this writer that moves into a small town called Jerusalem's Lot, and he finds out slowly that the whole town is being overrun with vampires. And I read the book a couple months before this movie came out. Honestly, the book is still way better. I've never seen the original one, so I can't really compare it to that, but the book is a slow burn. This movie is not. It's rushed. A lot of the stuff that I think makes the book creepy and unsettling is kind of glossed over in this one. But it's not terrible. I know some people just straight up hated it. I didn't think it was that bad. There's some really creative shots they used in this one, and I think the main characters are pretty good, even if I don't really agree with some of the changes they made to them. I could see why they made them, because in the book, some characters just show up just to die and they don't really add anything. So there's that. Not bad, not great. Still pretty entertaining for the most part. I gave that one 3 stars. The next movie I saw was called Trick or Treat. It's spelled Trick or Treat. You've probably seen this before in streaming. I remember when I was a kid, I used to see this all the time at Blockbuster. never really knowing what it was about, just that it was about Halloween. It's real popular now. It's a movie with a bunch of short stories. You know, it's an anthology movie all taking place on the same Halloween night. I have seen clips from this before, but I've never seen the full movie, and that was fun. It was actually really good. Not all the stories are as good as the next one. I think that's the problem with a lot of anthology stories. Honestly, I think I would put this up as like quintessential Halloween viewing. You know, like I'd put this up with Halloween and Nightmare Before Christmas. It's pretty fun. I really enjoyed it. I think I gave this one 4 stars. And the next one I saw is an A24 movie, so I had my hopes up. It's called It Comes at Night. It's about a family that they're trying to survive in like a cabin, and it takes place after like a big virus outbreak, so you know, it's post-apocalyptic. Really boring, if I'm being honest. Nothing comes at night. You watch the movie, that's the spoiler right there. Nothing really happens. I guess there's a sense of paranoia, and the acting was good, but honestly, that's about it. It felt like there wasn't really much going on, and you don't really get a whole lot of answers here, which sometimes it could work, but in this one, I don't know. It did not do it for me. I thought it was kind of boring. I gave it 2.5 stars. And the next movie I saw was a Netflix original, and honestly, just from saying that out loud, I probably should have expected it. Yeah, this is tied for the lowest score on this list, and it's for a pretty good reason. It's about this kid's babysitter who turns out to be like a killer who sacrifices people. It's just bad. I mean, the writing is bad, the pacing is bad, the humor not great. Most of the acting isn't good. I think Samara Weaving is really the only saving grace there. And the ending is basically shit, and the editing it gave me a headache. I gave that one 2 stars. It wasn't fun. On the upside though, I saw The Autopsy of Jane Doe. It's about this dad and his son. They run a morgue. Yeah, at the last minute, they get this one dead body with like no ID, you know, the Jane Doe of the movie. And they're trying to figure out how she died. And a bunch of spooky shit starts happening around their morgue. Surprisingly good. I didn't like the ending. I don't know, it felt kind of cheap. I get why they're doing it. You know, it's to kind of mirror what happens earlier in the movie. But I wasn't a big fan. I gave that one 3.5. Next one I saw after that, The Brood. It's actually a Cronenberg movie. It's about a guy whose wife is at a psychological retreat, and while she's there, people they know, family, friends, they start getting murdered, and the guy thinks that it's connected to the retreat that the wife is at, and this like sketchy ass doctor. It was pretty creepy at times. That's all I can really say. I don't want to say too much. I didn't think it was too gross up until like the last 5-10 minutes, which I mean, like I said, it was Cronenberg. I was expecting a certain amount of nastiness, and it was there. 10-15 minutes at the end. Yeah, I think I read somewhere that he based the story on his parents' divorce from when he was a kid, and it must have been a nasty ass divorce. That's all I can say. Yeah, I gave that one 3.5 stars. After that, I saw Christine, another movie based on a Stephen King book. It's about a nerdy kid who buys an old Plymouth Fury car, I think from the 50s, and the car turns out to be evil, and it starts killing, like, you know, other people that bullied him, just people that are an inconvenience to him and the car, and it also starts changing him, making him a bit more of an asshole. On paper, it sounds like a dumb idea, but John Carpenter pulls it off. Honestly, shouldn't have doubted him. There's a lot of cool moments here. I really like how they made the car look like it's healing itself, because it does get damaged, but it repairs itself. Well, if anyone can pull off something like that, it'd be John Carpenter, right? Thing I did not like was a bit towards the end. The nerdy kid's best friend, he's basically out of commission early on in the movie. You know, he only comes out in a few scenes, but he's the guy that ends up defeating Christine. He comes up with a plan, you know, real quick. He wasn't even there to see all the supernatural shit, and he just kind of buys into it, and that's the only problem I had with it. Otherwise, it was pretty decent. 3.5 stars. After that, I saw another movie based on a Stephen King book. This one's actually a sequel to The Shining, you know, considered one of the best horror movies of all time. I mean, it has a lot of you know, writing against it. This is directed by Mike Flanagan. You know, if you've seen Midnight Mass, Fall of the House of Usher, Haunting of Hill House, he's done some good stuff. And yeah, this would be another one of them. You know, I don't think it's as good as The Shining. It's a different kind of movie. But as its own thing, you know, when it's its own thing, it's really good. It has a lot of homages and Easter eggs to The Shining. Those are a little distracting. I wouldn't say they're necessarily bad, but I wasn't a big fan of them. What I was a big fan of, though, were all the Dark Tower references. They have a lot. a lot more than I was expecting walking into this. The amount I was expecting, 0, but all of that was good. I think it's a pretty good sequel. I don't know if it did if it did good when it came out, but really liked it. I gave that one 4 stars. After that one, I saw a horror western hybrid movie called Bone Tomahawk. Yeah, the concept alone, or the concept of the genre alone, interested me. So I really wanted to check that out. I've been wanting to check it out for years. It was good, not as good as I thought it was gonna be. You know, it does lean more into the whole western part of the horror western, and you know that means it's a bit slower. You know, a lot more talking, a lot more just, you know, them traveling from point A to point B. And normally I'm okay with that. I love westerns, but I think when you start out with showing off how these guys are so like brutal and dangerous, it feels like a big detour. But I will say, the nasty parts are nasty. There's one scene in particular, pretty gross. That was definitely something. But you know, like I said, I like the idea of a horror western. I think that's something we definitely should see more of. Here's hoping we do. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Yeah, the next one I saw is also based on a Stephen King book. This one is The Last One. You know, I could probably fill up this whole list with nothing but movies that were based on Stephen King books, but I thought that'd be enough. I think, what is that, 4? I think 4 is enough. So this one's about a woman who gets handcuffed to a bed after her husband gets a heart attack and dies from it, and she has to figure out a way to escape without going crazy, even though, you know, she starts going crazy. Yeah, it's not bad. I enjoyed it for the most part. I think this one bit near the end where they just over explain everything soured it a little bit. Yeah, I mean, it covers a very sensitive topic, so I'll leave it at that. You know, yeah, the horror stuff, it was pretty creepy. The gory stuff was really gross, and just the idea of, you know, being stuck there and seeing like so many different ways you're probably going to die, that's pretty scary by itself. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Yeah, the next movie I saw after that's a bit more recent. I think it came out last year. It's called Barbarian. It's about this woman who accidentally rents an Airbnb at the same time as this other dude, and they find a tunnel under the house, and the tunnel has like a weird, you know, incest creature. that's all I want to say. I try not to spoil it too much, but pretty crazy ass movie. It was just one crazy ass fucked up twist after another, and pretty gory. What I didn't like too much is that the main character kind of just disappears from the story for a good chunk of it, because I did like her from you know, the first quarter, maybe the first half where she's in the movie. I liked her, but after she disappears, it I don't know, leaves a bad impression on me. But yeah, a lot of fun, really messed up. Recommend that one. 3.5 stars. And after that, I felt like maybe the movies I was watching were a little bit too modern. I wanted to see some that were considered classics, so I went with an old Italian movie called Suspiria. Yeah, there's this subgenre of horror movies called giallo films, I think, and Suspiria is the movie that kind of paved the way for that specific genre. It's about a girl that gets accepted into this ballet school in Germany, but the school might actually be run by witches. There's a lot of mysterious deaths and all these freaky shenanigans, you know, happening. There's a lot of cool stuff. I really like the lighting and the sets and all that. Really good atmosphere. The music is hella catchy, and that's honestly about it. It gets a lot of praise, but there's some parts that feel like there's no way it would end up like that. Like there's a part in the end where the main character's remembering things from a scene in the very beginning, but it's like very detailed bits and phrases and words she's remembering. It's just so weird. I don't think it would work like that. But you know, it's a movie about witches, so what do I know? I think it was just the execution that kind of got to me, but I enjoyed it. 3.5 stars. Then after that, I thought I'd want to lighten things up a little bit, so I saw an animated kids movie called Paranorman. It's about a kid that can see ghosts, and you know, he's ostracized. Other kids make fun of him. His parents don't understand him, but he is the only one that could save the town from zombies, you know, taking it over, and an evil witch. So he goes there and he saves him with his friends and shit. And yeah, I thought for the most part it was okay. I think the big thing that kind of saved this from being just a 2.5 or a 3 star for me was the twist on who the witch really was. Like it actually really surprised me. And I didn't think they were gonna go there, but they did. And it might have even been a 4, but I felt at the end, some stuff that gets resolved felt like it wasn't really, it was a little rushed. Other than that, you know, not a bad movie. I give that one 3.5 stars. After that, I saw a movie called Fresh. It's about a woman who basically meets the man of her dreams, and you know, he's everything she ever wants, but she eventually goes to regret it. I mean, if you're gonna watch this one, the first 30 minutes are gonna feel like a rom-com almost, but I stuck with it, you know, because the two main characters were really charming, and for a couple seconds I did forget I was watching a horror movie. But yeah, after those 30 seconds, it's something else, really. I don't wanna talk about it too much other than that. Yeah, Sebastian Stan, Daisy Edgar Jones, they're the two main characters. I really like their whole dynamic, and Sebastian Stan especially. I mean, one second he's real charming and shit, the next you're like real grossed out with him. He played that part real well. Really recommend it, and I really like this one. I gave this one 4 stars. After that, I wanted to add another foreign movie on here, so I added House. It's a Japanese horror movie from the 70s. It's about this girl who invites all her friends to go to her aunt's house, her aunt's creepy ass house, for vacation, and one by one they start dropping like flies, and this movie is fucking batshit crazy. This one, out of all of these, this is the one I just don't want to talk about too much, because I think this is the movie that you should go in as blind as possible. I give this one 3.5 stars. That's honestly all I'm gonna say about it. I think either you're gonna really hate it or you're gonna like it. You might even love it, but that's basically every movie. 3.5 stars. After House, I saw the most recent Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rise. I missed out on this one when it was in theaters. I was real excited to see it. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan, and you know, I heard mixed things about it, but at the end of the day, it's really up to me whether I'm gonna enjoy it or not. But all I'm gonna say is, I think people were kind of right about this one. You know, it's not bad. It's just compared to all the other Evil Deads, it's not as good as those. It has a lot of cool moments though. I like the main character, but you know, the side characters did not care too much for him. I really like the mom character, especially when she's evil and she's fucking killing people. And it is gross, you know. It is an Evil Dead movie, but could have been more gross, you know. It's been real nasty before. I think the Fede Alvarez Evil Dead is probably the most gross one, you know, so it's not bad, but not amazing. I do think it's the weakest entry in the series. I gave this one just a flat 3 stars. I felt like 2.5, you know, it wasn't that low. It wasn't low enough to be mid. It just barely scraped by though, so gave it 3 stars. After that, I saw a movie that, you know, for the last few years I've seen people talk about endlessly. I saw the first Terrifier movie. It's about a girl who's being terrorized by a clown, and that's really the gist of it. There wasn't too much to this movie, unfortunately. You know, I think with all the hype and stuff, I thought I would have liked it a lot more. You know, it has a low budget, but it's not as charming, I think, as the Killer Clowns from Outer Space. And the violence and the kills, I felt like they were just gratuitous to be gratuitous. Like, don't get me wrong, the fact that they were able to pull them off at all with such a tiny budget and make them look that gross is real impressive, but I do think they did a little too much. And I hear the movies get worse as they go on in terms of how violent they are, and I'm not, you know, against that. I just think it has to have a purpose, you know, and I didn't feel it with this one. I will say my favorite part was when Art the Clown pulled his you know, his gun out, you know, because for the most part he's been chasing this poor girl with like a knife or scalpel, some bat or whatever, you know, like a slasher does, and then I don't know where he pulls a gun. I think that actually makes him real scary, because all these other slashers kind of have like a rule, you know, where they have to kill you with a machete or chainsaw or whatever, like, no guns. That'd be too easy. Not for him, you know. If he's gonna kill you, he's gonna kill you. He doesn't really care whether he does it with a melee weapon or not. And I think that makes him a bit scarier, but not enough to save it, I think. I gave that one 2.5 stars. After that, I saw another classic movie. This one I've heard, you know, get brought up here and there, but I never got the chance to see it. It's called a Sleepaway Camp, and it's about these cousins, you know, this boy and this girl. They go to a camp, and while they're there, people start mysteriously getting murdered. And I mean, I've already seen the twist before I saw this one, you know, or at least I've heard of it, but it is, honestly, I don't know how to feel about it. Don't get me wrong, it was definitely shocking. It's just I don't know if it was in bad taste or not. You know, I don't have the credentials to be criticizing it for that. There were some parts I thought were kind of funny. The kills weren't as bad as I thought they were gonna be. I think it's more the implication, especially that one girl with the curling iron. But I honestly, for the most part, it was a little boring. If I'm being honest, I gave this one 2.5 stars. Yeah, no, I said this one and, you know, House and Suspiria were classics, but I wanted to go a little bit more further back. And I did add a couple here that were pretty old, you know, past the 70s. For this one, I saw Carnival of Souls. It's about this girl who survives like a car crash after her like friends are racing on a bridge, and she moves over to a small town to start a new job. But after the car crash, she starts seeing this creepy ass dude following her. She has nightmares, and she basically has like a ghost following her. I really liked it. It felt like a really long Twilight Zone episode, and I friggin' love the Twilight Zone. And if you look at this movie, you could see definitely how it influenced like Kubrick with The Shining, which is something that I read when I was reading the reviews and reading some stuff about this movie. And also that this is this director's first and only movie ever made. Like, I think before and after this, he only made like commercials and stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's really well regarded even now. I definitely, like I mentioned, I definitely enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars. And then I clicked on this one because I've seen the poster before. The poster alone gives it 1 star. This poster has so much fucking aura, as the kids say nowadays. It's the vibes, dude. It's really, really cool. It's Fright Night. It's about a teenage boy who finds out his neighbor is a vampire, and he's in danger from this vampire, so he hires this actor to help him fight it. And it was really, really enjoyable. I mean, the vampire, his name's Jerry. People were fucking, you know, roasting him because he's an ancient vampire called Jerry, but to me it makes sense. You know, if you kept your name fucking, you know, Count Dark Lord Nosferatu, I mean, I feel like people would immediately know you're a vampire. So calling yourself something like Jerry or John or Matthew, to me it makes sense. You know, roast them all you like, but I think that was a really smart idea. Back to the movie though, really fun. I like the actor character. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was really funny. And there were a lot of cool practical effects in this, like how they make the vampire's reflection disappear, and how this one vampire turns into a wolf, and as he gets stabbed, he's like slowly transforming back into like his human form. It looks really cool. Honestly, I recommend this one. It's a really good. I gave it 4 stars. Yeah, after that, I saw an Alfred Hitchcock classic. I saw The Birds. It's about these birds that go crazy in this small town in California. They're just attacking people. I will say, not the scariest movie on this. Definitely more thriller based, I guess would be the word. There were some scenes where I think if they did happen IRL, I would be shitting myself, like that one scene with the chimney. But for the most part, it didn't really feel too much like a horror movie, even though it was in the Halloween section on Netflix. But I really enjoyed it. There was a lot of tension-filled moments. I like the 2 main characters, you know, Melanie and Mitch, I think their names were. I like their dynamic a lot. This movie was really good. I gave this one 4 stars. I would have given it 4.5, but I thought the ending was a little anticlimactic. After that, I saw Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978, because they've remade this movie I don't know how many times. But this is the one that I think people regard as the best. It's about a group of friends, you know, I think they're all like doctors and you know, writers, you know, basically intellectuals or whatever the fuck you want to call them, but they're trying to survive an alien invasion. They notice something's up with San Francisco, I think is where this movie takes place. There's something up with the citizens there, that they're not acting right, and they quickly find out that everyone's getting replaced by these aliens, and they're trying to survive. They're trying to stop from being replaced. And the vibes on this movie alone, top tier, dude. Since the very start of it, there's a real sense of paranoia that never really leaves until like maybe the last 10-15 minutes. Those last 10-15 minutes, you know, they feel a little too actiony for me. The music, I think, really set the tone, but once a certain character dies and it's like, you know, they're at the climax, it just feels a little too actiony for me. It felt a little I don't know, out of place. I will say though, the last scene, really good, really haunting. You've probably seen like memes or references to it. I gave this one 4 stars. Yeah, so after that one, I accidentally kind of took a break, but I don't want to call it a break. I got fucking lazy. I will admit, I was watching these, you know, maybe 2-3 movies a day, 3 if I was lucky. So I'd have enough time to record and edit this, but some days I just didn't watch anything. So when I finally got back to it, I had to pick a movie that was short. So I picked this one. I picked Vampires Suck. It's a parody of the Twilight movies. You know, it's a parody movie, like Scary Movie. I also picked this one because I wanted to see Scary Movie, but I've seen basically all of them, and after 3 they start to suck, but this is the best one. This is the best one I got. I regret watching this, honestly. Could have picked a better movie. This is the one that's tied with The Babysitter at 2 stars. They're tied for lowest rank. There were some jokes that were pretty funny. Some kind of made me groan. You know, they didn't age very well, and some just weren't plain funny. But it blew my mind. The guy that played this fake Edward, he looks so fucking familiar. And then, you know, when I rated this and logged it on Letterboxd, found out it's the guy that voices Anakin in the Clone Wars cartoon. And then I found out that the dad in this movie also voices Batman in Brave and the Bold. I gave this one 2 stars. Yeah, after that, I started scraping the bottom of the barrel a little bit. I wanted to see more movies that I had no idea what they were about, but I also, you know, run the risk of seeing something like The Babysitter or Vampires Suck. But I picked this one nonetheless. I thought the cover on Amazon Prime looked kind of cool. I watched From Beyond. It's based on an old H.P. Lovecraft short story. Only 7 pages, by the way. They managed to make a movie that's an hour and 30 minutes out of 7 pages, which is crazy. It's about this scientist. He builds this machine that, you know, stimulates this tiny part of your brain. And when it does that, you're able to see all these creatures from another dimension. And, you know, the first time he turns it on, his head scientist, you know, the guy he works for, his head goes, you know, missing and he dies, and they think he murdered him. So this psychologist and this cop, they work with him to build the machine so he can prove that he's not crazy, that he didn't kill this guy. And, you know, it all spirals out from there. Pretty fucking wild movie. The practical effects were really cool. It was pretty campy too, you know, without being cringy. I think the only thing I didn't like were that some characters, you know, the way some characters died, they were kind of cheap, honestly, real dumb. I was not a fan of that. Like, you guys were smart the whole movie, and then the last 5 minutes, you just, all your logic goes out the window. It didn't make any sense to me. But I mean, if you're a fan of like 80s movies with like really cool practical effects, yeah, you'd probably really enjoy this one. I gave this one 3.5 stars. And then after that, this is the oldest movie on the list here. It's the classic Dracula from 1931. And I mean, we all know who Dracula is. This movie, you know, I think there's some changes from the book. I haven't read it, but when we think Dracula, we think the Dracula from this movie. I think I could respect this movie for how it kind of cemented how people see Dracula and vampires, you know, for the last, what, 80 years? I mean, they try and reinvent vampires every once in a while, but this one's always at the top of people's head. You ask 5 people, random people out in the street, to describe Dracula, they'll almost always describe this guy. You know, that being said though, a good chunk of this movie's kind of boring. You know, there's not a whole lot of dialogue. The delivery of some of the stuff they say and do is a little funny, and the little vampire bat effect is pretty silly too. You could see the string. I don't know if it's because, you know, we got the movie in HD now that you could see the strings and pulleys, you know, how they pulled off all this stuff. Didn't really diminish it too much. I found it a little charming, but like I said, there was a lot of boring parts here, especially the ending, dude. This ending, abysmal. It was one of the worst endings ever, man. I have no idea how they got away with it back then. For the most part, pretty solid. I think the guy that played Renfield, Dracula's assistant, I think he's actually the best actor in the whole movie. He comes out more than Dracula does, and he just sells crazy. He has it in the eyes, man. And yeah, I mean, I think if it wasn't for the ending, this might have been a bit higher. I gave it a solid 3 stars. After that, I saw a movie that I've been wanting to watch for years. I saw Midsummer. I mean, I've seen Hereditary before. Friggin' love that one. And I have no idea how I never saw this one sooner, but I love this one too. If you haven't seen it, it's about this girl who goes on a trip after her parents and sister dies. She goes on a trip with her boyfriend to visit this Swedish cult. And after that, I mean, everything goes crazy. People start getting killed, you know, either through sacrifice or murder. There's some real creepy shit. There's mushroom-induced hallucinations. There's a lot of creepy stuff here. It's not like ghost jump scare kind of creepy. I think it's really the violence and just the vibes of it. Like, you feel like something's wrong right from the get-go when they arrive there. And like the violence itself, it's nasty. It's real unsettling. I don't know. I felt like this one served a bit more of a purpose than, you know, Terrifier did. I felt like Terrifier, they're really just trying to shock you. Also, Florence Pugh, haven't seen her in too many movies, but everything I've seen her in, she's like one of the highlights for all of those movies I've seen her in. I don't think I've ever seen her phone in any role ever. So if I ever see her in like the credits for a movie, she's most likely gonna do a very good job. I think she fucking kills it in everything I've seen her in. So I gave this movie 4.5 stars. It was, really, really good. It's actually the highest rated movie on this list. After that, I saw this one movie that I've heard people say is real underrated. It's called The Bubba Hotep. It's about Elvis having survived, his death, and JFK, who gets turned black, I think. They weren't very clear on that one. They have to work together to defeat a mummy that's killing the other residents of this old people home that they live in. And on paper, it sounds stupid, but like something that would be pretty fun, especially if it's got Bruce Campbell involved. Like I mentioned, big fan of The Evil Dead, but this one was kind of disappointing. I don't know, I was expecting it to be better, honestly. Some stuff was funny, some stuff was not. It wasn't necessarily scary, but I don't think it was supposed to be, so I'm not gonna knock it off points for that. But really, the humor didn't always do it for me, but I get what it was trying to do. It's the kind of movie where, explores, the whole concept of growing old past your prime, but also kind of moving on from that, like moving on from all your past regrets and trying to do something good with, the limited time you got left. So in that respect, it's not bad. I gave it 3 stars. After that though, I saw another Hitchcock classic. I saw Psycho. Yeah, never seen Psycho before, believe it or not. Don't know if I should even bother not to spoil this one. I mean, I feel like it's something that's like referenced endlessly. I think everyone knows the whole twist to this movie. But that being said, this one also disappointed me. I don't know if it was because I was hyping myself up to enjoy it, because for the most part I've enjoyed a lot of Hitchcock's movies, but this one just had too much stuff in between the interesting stuff. So like the beginning, when the girl's escaping, too much driving. After she dies, too much cleaning, too much talking about what they're gonna do instead of just doing it. I think some scenes just felt longer than they needed to be. That being said though, the parts that were supposed to be suspenseful, they were really suspenseful. And I think the guy that played Norman, he was great. I think he was the best actor in this movie. Not to say that the other people were shit. Just like Renfield, he plays crazy real well. And I don't know if it was the twist or, like I mentioned, it being hyped up for me, but I found it a little disappointing. Was not bad though. I gave it 3.5 stars. And then finally, the last movie for October is An American Werewolf in London. Yeah, it's about these 2 American tourists. They get attacked by a werewolf. One of them survives, and well, he's a werewolf now, and he wreaks havoc at London. This is actually a friend of mine's favorite movie. I don't know if he actually managed to make it to the end of this video, but if he did, I included his favorite movie, so I bet he's pretty happy about that. I could see why it's his favorite though. The practical effects alone on the transformation scene, they were really, really impressive. And the dream scenes he has, leading up to that transformation moment, they're real surreal, but also like really unsettling. I thought, because I've only seen some stuff from this movie out of context, that one scene with the Nazi werewolves was gonna be stupid, but yeah, no, there's definitely some crazy psychological shit going on there. I'm pretty sure some people have explained it or maybe even explored it better than I ever could. That being said though, the whole tragic love story that the movie kind of is leaning on, to me it felt like the weakest part. Don't get me, I mean, it might work for some people, but I mean, they've only known each other for a couple of days and they're already telling each other that they love each other, and this crazy chick, walks in front of a werewolf to talk him down. She thinks she's fucking Black Widow trying to talk down the Hulk. It kind of was a little weird to me. I don't know. That part was a bit weird. Pretty sad, but not sad enough. I think the whole part with, him seeing his dead friend and then him seeing all the people he killed and him having to kind of live with that was a bit sadder. And I do wish they kind of talked about it a bit more. This movie isn't very long. I do think it could have benefited from maybe 15-20 extra minutes, but it was still pretty good. I gave this one 4 stars. And that's about it. I really hope I uploaded this one in time for Halloween. I'd like to do more stuff with movies. maybe even with books, because I have not been playing games as much as I used to, especially new stuff. I mean, stuff is getting, you know, these new games, they kind of require better hardware, better than what I got. So I can't play, you know, like Star Wars Outlaws, the Resident Evil 4 remake, stuff like that. I'm stuck with what I got now, which I guess isn't bad considering my whole YouTube is mostly gaming. Not great, but I have been meaning to want to expand from gaming. So if this was good, let me know. If you want to see me cover more movies, or if you have a specific movie you want me to cover, you know, go ahead and let me know. If you're interested in me talking about some of the books I've been reading lately, that would also be great, because I have been reading, like I mentioned, The Dark Tower, and I have been thinking of doing a video on that for a bit, but you know, I guess it would depend on how well this one does. But yeah, thanks for watching, and have a good Halloween.